taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for March 20th, 2018. My name is Asheninity, powered by Pure Hype as always. I'm here with Cybsidian, who, as far as I know, is powered by Cold Fusion.
Yeah, Cold Fusion and a mix of thorium, actually.
And we also have the Mad Queen joining us again, and she is powered by Japanese food and mojitos.
So says Arasaka.
she's also a pawn of Arasaka now, so we got to watch our step. Say nothing against the mighty mega corporations. So we have got some exciting news today. Our favorite Polish game development company, of course, CD Projekt, has just purchased a new studio and have opened a new studio in this city. And I'm just going to double check my pronunciation sheet because I had to really research how on earth you say this city. You can see it in the thumbnail there. Wrocław. You stole my thunder there, Mad Queen. Wrocław.
I'm not even going to try.
So, CD Projekt.
Although I do have to say, CD Projekt is making it easier for us to say that it's our favorite Polish studio because they just keep on buying out new Polish studios.
Well, how often have they done this?
Funny. Just the once.
Just the one. By
well,
the way,
they are starting to make sure that they are our favorite Polish studio because soon, if they keep this trend, there won't be no more Polish studios to like.
But and their name is at least easy to say. Well, no, it's not now. Now that they've got oh man, I gotta check this. I've got to check the thing again. Wrocław. So CD Projekt Red Wrocław the deal was made official today. So this is breaking news, and it was reported right on CD Projekt's website. So the studio was formerly known as Strange New Things, and it is comprised of a bunch of veteran developers in the industry. Now, I was a little confused at first because I couldn't find anything that Strange New Things had made. But apparently the studio is very new, but the developers and the people who formed this studio have worked on projects such as Dying Light, Hitman, the 2016 version of Hitman, Dead Island, Call of Juarez, and also The Witcher. So I'm guessing some of them are former CD Projekt employees.
It's funny because it seems to be like some sort of triangle of love between CD Projekt, Techland, and IO Software. It's like it's people moving around there. There's a lot of people that work on The Witcher that ended up in IO Software, or the other side that they started working on IO and are now working on Cyberpunk.
Interesting. Darkus in chat says United Polska Studios. Hashtag United Polska Studios. Nice. Unite. Actually, I mean, well, under the CD Projekt banner, I'm okay with studios uniting. By the way, CD Projekt, if you're listening, I've just got one word for you. BioWare. Moving on. All right, so if you're listening live today, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from sponsors are, of course, guaranteed to be read out on today's show as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. And let's get on with the news. Hello, Darkus. Hello, Bluntman. And everyone else who... the chat's moving so fast, it's already off my screen. But, so let's...
Well, the first thing that caught my attention when I saw the news is that they are saying that this new studio is now under the orders of Adam Badowski, game director of Cyberpunk 2077 and head of the CD Projekt Red studio. And I was wondering, they said they reached an agreement today, but did they start working on Cyberpunk before? I mean, because it's really weird that all of this comes when they are already into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound weird to you?
Well,
no,
it seems like it's a way to expand their team. They're putting these new employees at this studio right to work on CD Projekt on Cyberpunk 2077.
Well, I suppose that saves a lot of time in headhunting.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
having
And
it-
what I think they've gotten this studio to work on is I think they're getting them to work on like basically like you can add an almost unlimited amount of content to your game in fluff content. And one of the biggest
Fluff
things that I've been fluff content that is not necessary for core gaming but is necessary for like
Oh.
having a really broad-based game. And one of the things I've been worried about is their costumes, weapons, and vehicles. Because if they have 8 vehicles in the entire game, and that's it, and just different color skins of those 8 vehicles, that gets really boring pretty fast. But it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy to sit down, design new vehicles. It's not like the Division where they just go out and they just photograph like 100 different kinds of cars in a car lot one day and boom, their work is done. They're creating sci-fi vehicles. So I think there's a handful of sci-fi games out there where they have vehicles in them and they've got like 4 or 5. I mean, you look at Halo, the original Halo had like 3 or 4, no 4 or 5. They had 5, and so that kind of thing gets really repetitive when you're in a really big open world. So that, and then also the things that people are wearing. That's the other big concern I've had is if they're pushing this out really, really fast, how much time have they had a chance to really make tons of different clothing options for the main player character and then for the NPCs in the game of all of the different backgrounds? That's like you could literally sit down and make 10,000 pieces and you could make another 10,000 on top of that. So, and I doubt they've made 10,000. I think that I was worried that they've only made maybe less than 1,000 different pieces, and they might ship with that. And if they ship with that, that's far too few, I think. But,
so they turned the new studio into a fashion show, Cyberpunk fashion show. Well, actually, in Cyberpunk, fashion is so important. Attitude is everything, and fashion is part of the attitude.
Absolutely, and you don't want to have too much repetitive stuff because that really breaks immersion.
Yes, I think they should call the new studio I don't know, Icon America, something like that. Fashion.
Well, in this, to respond to Darkus is asking how many people are they at now. This has added 18. The studio only had 18 people when they took it over. The thing to remember about that is that that they're looking at increasing that studio. So based off of some job postings and kind of what he was inferring, that's going to quadruple at that studio. So, and that's really good for them too.
Absolutely. And Bartez BBNK in chat says, remember about the expansions in the future. The Witcher has 2 DLCs. So that's absolutely true. Plus, we are fairly certain that we're going to be seeing a second Cyberpunk game in the relatively near future after 2077 comes out.
Yeah, within a 3-year launch window is what they're looking at for the next Cyberpunk game, if they're building it as a 4-part, 3-part, or 5-part series. Mm-hmm. That's what they want to have that, and they've made this again and again in a lot of the closed stuff, and I'm sure we'll hear more about this. They have a stream coming up soon where they're going to cover some general studio information, and I think that they're going to mention that they're going to try and stick to between a 2 and a 3 year release window. Seems to be really brilliant, and then that gives them time to also start working on other things on the side too, because if they're pushing out content and they get into a really good groove of it, you want to keep that groove going. You don't want to slow down even when you're changing game types or genres. You want to keep up the pressure and just go from one to the next to the next to the next. So we saw what kind of happens when you muddle about a little bit with too many different things at a single studio. That's what happened to BioWare Edmonton. Is they went from Mass Effect to working on the Dragon Age series to working on this Anthem series, and it was done in several muddled jumps. And so some of the tech was at some places, and then other things were being written in other places, and it was really kind of all over the place. So
right,
you don't want that. You want to have a shorter production schedule so that you can keep the story fresh, you can keep the content new, and then when the community is satisfied with the content that series has developed, you want to be able to move on to the next project and not wait 6 to 7 years between releasing that and releasing the next thing.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing is that inside the law of Cyberpunk, the date of 2020 and the date of 2022, they are both very important.
Mhm.
So I was expecting a DLC in 2020. I was expecting the Shockwave DLC, to be more precise. And if they don't do that, I'm going to be really disappointed. Although the end of the post-corporate war is at 2022. I don't know. They should make something for 2020, even to honor the name of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really like potentially there, as we keep hearing this. We covered this a while ago where they said that they are only working on the Witcher series and the Cyberpunk series, period, full stop. There's nothing else that they're working on. And right now the projects they are working on is like a grand total of like 3 games. So, and then when they asked, so do you have another Witcher content game coming out? They said, no, we don't have a new Witcher content coming out, which means that
They
they're
didn't say
only
that.
working on Cyberpunk 2077 games.
They didn't say that.
They alluded
No,
to
they
it.
say yes. They said I can't say. I know the plans, but I can't say. They didn't say
Yeah.
they weren't working on the Witcher. Because I was especially paying attention to that part in the Beretta Securities presentation.
Mhm.
Like, let's see if he slips something unintentionally. But no, he didn't. He said that I know the plans, but I'm not going to reveal it.
Yeah.
And the other guy said, well, this means that it's going to be a Witcher 4 game in the future. And Ivinsky said,
Well, it's not going to be Witcher 4 in the terms of the.
No,
it's not going to be a
gonna Witcher 4,
continuation of the
period.
trilogy.
No.
But
Well, it's going to be a fourth Witcher.
more games, a fourth Witcher game, but not Witcher 4. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, a couple of comments here. Darkest says they must really want this to be a huge hit and for it to be really good and very polished. Absolutely, that is the impression we've been getting from the beginning with this. Even in their first teaser, they said, yeah, release date, when it's ready. So that tells you what their attitude toward it is, and we've had that confirmed since. They just really want to deliver a quality product. And the success of The Witcher 3 really is contributing to the scale of what they know they can do now.
But they
know how to go crazy. Sorry for interrupting you.
The one thing with the release date, like they when it's ready, yes, but when it's ready means that they're not gonna ship it in like April 2019. That you don't ship games in April 2019.
No, they have a plan.
Yeah.
Like they'll have
they have a planned release, and that planned release is going to be most likely in one of the Novembers, either this November, next November, or November after that. And when that shows up, that's what we don't know right now, and we're guesstimating on that. And my guesstimations for a while has been 2019, but I'm not. That's not in concrete. I'm not willing to make a bet on that yet.
right, and
Because it could be this year. It could be this year. It could be next year. It could be the year.
If we
after.
make bets, we're going to make them on private. This way, if we are wrong, we won't kill each other.
Yeah.
Because imagine that we were like, okay, the game is going to be released, I don't know, November 23rd this year. Imagine that we're wrong in the game is next year. Everybody will kill us for saying a year before, just for the hype.
Yeah, absolutely nothing set in concrete, but we could see it.
We
as
want to
early
have
as this year.
responsible hype. We want to have responsible hype. So.
But all right,
Darkus is asking, I guess there will be Easter egg books or maybe a computer game on one of the computers in the game, a Cyberpunk 2020 game. Well, I think that you can have the brain dance because as Pacifica is going to be in the game. That, by the way, I need to make a video about Pacifica, because I think that I made a mistake on my appreciation of what they meant when they mentioned Pacifica inside the offices of the project. I am not yet sure, but I believe that I made a huge mistake. But if they are referring to Pacifica inside Night City, then you have Playland at the Sea, where you have the paradise of mini games, and you can have a lot of Easter eggs there. You can have brain dance, and then you can play small games that are related to 2020, or even read the books inside the brain dance. I don't know. It's a lot of lots and lots of possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking that too when I read that comment. I wonder if like they could have a DLC or something where you go into the brain dance and go back to 2020.
That would be fantastic. I'm expecting. I'm really totally and absolutely expecting. And if I don't have that, honestly, I'm going to be really disappointed. A DLC where you can play the second part of Shockwave, the end of the fourth corporate war. I mean, that is a must.
All right, so many comments here. All right. By the way, I missed a couple of hellos. Hello, Keith. Hello, Serpentine. And Legolevic. Welcome. So Notional says, in response to us talking about the next Cyberpunk game coming out within 2 or 3 years after 2077, he says, good, a 6 to 7 year production cycle is just dumb. It is a long time, but when you're establishing a brand new IP, like, it doesn't surprise me that this first game is taking that long. After that, once they've got a lot of the work established, may even be able to reuse some of the assets that they've built, then that really speeds up the time with which they'll be able to construct the next game. Keith Hanshaw says, I hope the character designs don't repeat as much as The Witcher 3. By what I mean is like the repeat of the same models with different clothing. And that just is going to keep getting better just as hardware improves, as technology improves, as the game engines improve. That'll get better. I'm sure that'll be the same in Cyberpunk, though you'll probably see some repeat. Although,
well, in The Witcher, you had humans, you had elves, you had dwarves, but here in Cyberpunk, you have humans, you have cyborgs, and then you have cats, and then you have lions, and you have every exotic thing that you can ever imagine. So,
well, and the other thing too, what The Witcher did not have that even Fallout 4 had was a character creation system. And when you have a character creation system built in, like in Fallout 4, they just used that system to generate NPCs, and they can, they can procedurally generate a virtually infinite number of NPCs that all look different from one another.
Unless you're using the system that BioWare used for Mass Effect Andromeda, in which case you get about 6.
Yeah, but nobody's comparing anything to Mass Effect Andromeda. So by all indications, Cyberpunk is going to have a character creation system, so that'll help with that. They're not going to have to be manually sculpting all the NPCs that are found in the game, kind of a thing. Christoph says, aren't you afraid that because they are growing so fast, they will have real trouble managing this project? That's
why?
That is, I'd say there is some risk there, but I don't know enough about project management to really comment. What do you think, Matt Queen?
No, I don't think. I mean, sometimes when people think about games, they think that the game director is in charge of everything. No, he's just in charge of making the game being one complete thing. You have a lot of producers for that. You have art producers. You have a lot of staff that whose position is just to control that everything moves at the speed that it shall move, and that everybody's under control in the sense that of everybody's following the same direction. So there's, in one hand, you have the managers that manage a group of people that is dedicated to a part. For instance, you have gameplays, and then you have the team leader, but you also have producers over these people. So as long as they are also increasing the amount of producers they have, which I believe is the case, and I believe because I've seen new people, new faces on producing this Cyberpunk 2077, everything will be under control. Because this is like a pyramid, and all the pods are growing at the same pace. It's not that suddenly they have a lot of new developers and they don't have producers to control those developers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There does seem to be, like, there comes a point when you've got enough experience with it, it seems like you should be able to scale it up without too much trouble. Darth Raver, once again.
As long as you have, sorry for interrupting you, but let me finish with this. As long as you have a clear vision of what you want to do, and I don't know Adam Badowski in person, but I believe that he's the kind of person that has a very clear vision of what he wants. And as long as you have that, being able to transmit it to the people and transmit it to the managers that then have to transmit it to the people makes all the part of having the studios under control much easier. Because if you know what you want, it's easier that everybody follows the same direction.
Absolutely. So let me talk about the promotional campaign. So I know exactly the time frame that the promotional campaign is going to be started, and that's going to be between now and E3. So
Yes, I believe I agree with your estimate.
And E3 is only 3 months away, which is pretty exciting.
Yes.
It feels like
which
it was
means
just
which means that we're going to see something before then. Like, absolutely, there's no, not that there's no, but there's very, very few promotional campaigns for a big major release that start out with a trailer at E3. Most of them don't. Most of them start leaking a little bit of stuff beforehand because they want people to be excited to see the content at E3.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, not because if that, if that launch doesn't go perfectly, then that, they kind of screwed up their big thing. They want people to be excited for it first before they show up to E3, whether that's 2 weeks before, whether that's 2 days before, or whether that's 2.5 months before, which puts it within the next, like, basically between now and the next 2 weeks. That's the big question. So when it comes to the advertising campaign, and something that I want to get on record because we like being proven right, is that we're going to see something soonish, probably within the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to see a drip, probably about 3 or 4 major things, probably some artwork, probably some news about some kind of a system within the game, and that'll come out in 1 or 2 big kind of little drops that'll show up before the E3, and then that's when their campaign will kick into high gear. And if the game is indeed going to be coming out in 2018, then it's going to be really high gear. It's going to be exactly like Fallout 4 was, because that's the model that a lot of these studios are modeling their new release windows off of. It's trying to capture that, because that thing was like a steam train out of nowhere. Like, it came out of as soon as it came out of the tunnel, it didn't slow down. It only picked up steam. It only picked up speed and basically crushed everything else that was in the way. So, and I mean, and it almost brought down The Witcher 3. Like, The Witcher 3 came out that same year and was, extremely, extremely positively received. And Fallout 4 almost, like, if Fallout 4 had been a little bit more graphically less buggy and had just a little bit more of the high depth stuff that we were hoping for, and if it had a little bit less of the minor bugs that they had, and if the storyline was just a little bit more improved, they would have won Game of the Year. But Game of the Year went to Witcher 3, as it should have, because it was really good. But they were like, that came out of nowhere, and everybody in the industry took note of how that was done. So
sorry.
Let me just answer, Darkest. We will definitely be streaming E3. We hope to have somebody there, and right now the only thing that's holding us back on that is time and a little bit of money. So that's the two things that we're really looking at right now. But yes, we will definitely be doing something with E3, and we will definitely be doing something big with E3. The question of how big we get it is up in the air.
Well, going back to what we're talking
restream
before.
Sorry, Mad Queen. I just want to follow. It's just said there we will be restreaming most of the major press conferences. We will not be restreaming Nintendo's, and we will not. And the PC gaming, we'll have to look at the list of what's there, but we'll definitely do Bethesda's. We'll definitely do CDPR's, probably Xbox, PlayStation, and Ubisoft, and then I don't know what else there is, but not Nintendo's. We might do a follow-up, sort of a wrap-up, like a summary of a video about Nintendo's, but because we like Nintendo, they just don't like it when we put their stuff on our things. So, all right, what were you saying, Mad Queen?
I was saying that regarding the marketing campaign, there are two big questions. Well, three. One is, excuse me. One is when, how, but most importantly, what are they going to do? Because we absolutely know that there's going to be some kind of trailer involved. We know that we are going to see some gameplay, but Cyberpunk is such a huge universe. There are such a lot of things that you can do to promote such video game, and also they are going to need a lot of excuses to make people learn about the lore, about the universe, because there's still a lot of people that Serpentine, let the queen speak. Yeah, you don't know that, but I have hidden below the desks of these two people punching fist. So if they don't like me, like I just press a button in my phone, in my cell phone, and the fist punch them in a very soft spot. It really hurts. Going back to the law thing. So the most complicated thing here is that people don't confuse Cyberpunk with a typical sci-fi game, a typical game that is more or less like you can think of Detroit. It's a totally different kind of universe. One of the good things that Zeta Project can take advantage from is that Cyberpunk is starting to get more or less famous. Now you have shows on TV like Altered Carbon, like what's the Philip K. Dick series called? Oh, I'm watching it. I don't even
I'm
remember the
not
name.
sure. I'll Google that while you talk here.
Now it's getting like on trend, and this is something that they can take advantage of because people more or less start to recognize what cyberpunk is. But this is a very specific type of cyberpunk, and there is a lot of players involved. In fact, funny fact, a couple of days ago someone left a comment in my channel telling me that I was running out of lore to explain, and I was like, no, I mean, I just started. I mean, I just explained all the basics that were character classes, a little about the universe, and a little about the mega corporations. And now I'm going to start explaining the real thing, the story of this universe that is way too complex to do it in a couple of months. I don't know how are they going to do it. I suppose that this is a very important part of the promotional campaign.
Maybe they'll just buy your channel and be like, here's all this stuff. Wouldn't that be nice? By the way, it's Electric Dreams.
Thank you, Electric Dreams. Great series. I didn't finish watching it, but it's great. And the good thing about this series is that all the episodes are different stories. They start and finish, and you don't need to follow them in a specific order. In fact, depending on you, depending on where you're watching it, the order is one or a different one. But it makes no difference. Great series. You should watch it. Amazing.
That reminds me of Haruhi Suzumiya. That show aired not in order, and it drove me nuts. I can't stand it when it's like out of order, because even the smallest like little detail is like, who the hell is this person? Oh, doesn't get introduced until 4 more episodes, and then it's introduced after the fact. Oh, okay. This is no. So anyways.
Do androids dream of electric sheep? I don't know.
Yes, we do. I mean, I have heard on good authority that androids do dream of electric sheep.
That explains the cold fusion thing. All right, so we have a couple other news items to get to here. But first, we love seeing the activity in the live chat. It's fantastic. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about the things we all love to talk about, which is anything gaming or movie or, vaguely nerd related. You can also meet people to game with and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. And if you're looking for people to play Sea of Thieves with, that might be a good place to go.
And that is a good game. That is.
I'm sorry, but I really, really need to interrupt you.
Yes.
Sorry for that, but Darkus, androids still have a human brain? No. These are cyborgs.
Yeah.
Androids have a robotic brain. Androids are robots that have human appearance, but they are robots. They are completely mechanical. It's cyborgs that have a human brain. I really need to make a video with the difference between robots, androids, and cyborgs.
Well, to keep it straight, I just think of Star Trek: The Next Generation, because
Yes, yeah.
Data was
is-
called
Did we have
nothing.
this conversation before?
Yes, we did.
We probably did, yes.
We didn't get too much into it though.
So cyborgs Data was an android, and then for cyborgs, I think the Cybermen from Doctor Who, because they're they have the human brain inside the robotic body. So, is android
the
porn in
Daleks.
binary? Says Serpentine, and then he says, "I'll still watch it, I guess."
Well, you have the new computing system that instead of being binary is with 32 states of the electrons. No, Darkus, don't apologize. Like everybody confuses these terms, and only people that is into science fiction knows the difference. I believe that in pop culture, there's been many references that mistranslated these concepts, and that's why people that is not really into science fiction really often confuses robots with androids with cyborgs.
Hey, now we've got people posting binary erotica in the chat. Let's keep it PG here, all right?
You're begging for it to go sideways. So this was a very important thing today that was dropped about the Sea of Thieves, which I really appreciate them doing. Is that they're aiming Sea of Thieves to really be a positive community interaction. So like in League of Legends and in other arena-based combat things, the population can be very, very toxic from time to time. I mean, who knew? Competition brings out the worst in people sometimes. So what they're doing with Sea of Thieves is really interesting because they're really trying to encourage you to play with friends and to have fun with friends. And this was really, really cool. There was a couple of quotes today that came out, and it was really, really, really awesome. So let me see if I can find that quote.
I don't know if I'm going to play Sea of Thieves because I don't really have time to finish Dishonored 2. The game I'm within right now. I should really finish it because I wanted to play it for long, but I just don't have enough hands, and I'm one of those people that takes one game, I have to finish it.
Fair enough.
There's no finishing Sea of Thieves though, because it's an ongoing experience. It's not something that you can like.
Yes, but I need to finish Dishonored 2 before thinking about touching Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
And also, Detroit is going to be out soon.
Yes.
Oh
yes,
yes,
the other one.
That is very true. And there's so much coming out this year, and this is why I'm like you. I want to finish every game I start, but lately I don't know how I'm going to do that because there's just not enough time. There's so many games to cover, and there's so much to cover about certain games, and sometimes I can only get through the first quarter of it unless I absolutely really love it. Like I've been playing the Metro games for the past year and a half, trying to get through those before Metro Exodus comes out, and now I'm absolutely loving Kingdom Come Deliverance. That game's probably going to take me 3 years to get through because there's just so much other stuff. So
I've been crazy for playing Dishonored 2, and I love the aesthetics. And it was funny because I started playing the game, and suddenly I was like, oh my god, I know this sound edition. I've heard all these sounds before, and I googled it, and Arcane Studios participated in BioShock 2, and that's what. Oh yeah, from BioShock. It looks so BioShock-ish.
You've played a lot of games when you start to recognize the door opening sound that you play that was in games you were playing 10 years ago. There was this door opening sound and certain sound effects from the original Thief game that are burned into my memory, and I keep hearing them in other games. it's like, I know that sound. It's like the Wilhelm scream, but with sound effects. It's like, come on, get somebody record a new door sound. Like, what? This isn't hard. I'll do it in 2 seconds and make $1 million. So, Saib, do you have those quotes?
Yeah. So one of this was BBC Newsbeat. This guy was talking to. This is one of the lead devs on the project. So it says initially it's a game that encourages cooperation and positive behavior. As the crew, you can't harm each other, and all of the rewards are shared. So there's literally no reason or motivation to do anything other than to cooperate. And then he goes on to say, we're going to bring a load of people into the multiplayer gaming that have been rejected by other multiplayer games before. It's a big challenge, and I'm going to say that we haven't. He's not going to say that they've guaranteed that they've cracked the code or that we've solved it, but we think we've done a really unique thing with Sea of Thieves. So I was really encouraged by that, because this is like we were talking to our new streamer who we're pretty close with, and I was mentioning to her that we were really excited to play some multiplayer games, and I was like, yeah, no, we'll get you to do, like, you know, we're gonna play like some League of Legends or something like that. And she goes, oh my goodness, you mean that like toxic mess of a game? And I was like, oh yeah, probably something a little bit lighter as far as that goes. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm happy to see games that encourage more like positive multiplayer game, because I mean, I enjoy playing Risk, but every time I play Risk, it usually ends up with the board being flipped in some way, shape, or another. So
by you or by someone else?
It could be either side, whichever one is put into the worst position at the end.
Did I ever told you about freedom to fuck up?
Sorry, say that again.
Did I ever told you about the freedom to fuck up?
Yes.
I don't think you told me about that.
You have the freedom of choice, and when you play role-playing games, this means freedom to fuck up, because you're always going to fuck up everything. You and your friends, whatever you play with.
Yeah, well, I like it when games give you the ability to do that, and you can still, and
you don't die.
You still play on. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some fatal errors, but
yeah, it's a typical thing when you're trying to play stealthy, like. Last thing that I will mention about this Honor, I'm pretty pissed because at first I wanted to make a non-lethal game, but enemies are not cooperating. So annoying. I just don't want to kill them, but they don't give me they give me no other choice.
You could always run away. You could also be stealthy. That works too.
Yeah, I try to be stealthy, but I need to do something with them so they don't see me when I'm in front of them, which is the path that I need to take.
I put out a video of like 11 different ways to non-lethally take down your enemies in that game. Don't tell me that the enemies aren't cooperating.
No, they are cooperating. They come at you with a sign in the forehead that says, kill me.
Yeah.
Please.
They do. It's written there and you don't have a choice. Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I tried, but then they come and attack me, and I'm like, okay, what shall I do then? Yeah, hit me, please. No, that's not the thing I'm going to do.
Well, to each their own. To each their own. There are ways to fight too in that game without killing your enemies. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, but yeah, not for me. I need to kill things.
Well,
otherwise I get bored.
Well, then don't tell me you're trying to do a non-lethal playthrough, because that's clearly not the case.
No, I said I started the game trying to do it.
And then you eventually realized, wait a second, I'm a psychopath. Why am I denying my nature? So yeah, Sea of Thieves, I had the opportunity to play it a little bit last night, and it's a ton of fun. We're going to be streaming it later this evening. I don't know exactly what time, but if you watch on the live page, when we know what time, we'll put a countdown on the live page. Same place you're watching this podcast now if you're watching live. So a couple other things. And by the way, we were interviewed this week by Upper Echelon Gamers, and we're going to be in a video on their channel sometime today or tomorrow. The video should be coming out, and they were interviewing us about Cyberpunk 2077, Cyb and myself. And the guy interviewing us over there, he's a really great guy, and he didn't know much about Cyberpunk 2077, so he went in completely blind, and by the end of the interview, he was completely stoked for the game. So I'm really excited. That should be a good video, and I'll put a link to it in the description as soon as that's available, if you're interested in watching that. So
I'll be streaming South Park tonight as well, or not tonight, but within like in about an hour or two, I'll be doing some South Park Castle Bonita.
Oh yes, the new expansion.
Vampires. Yes, the new DLC came out earlier this
how's
morning.
it called?
And it's Castle Bonita. It's a Mexican food restaurant within the South Park series or
Casa
TV
Bonita.
series.
Yeah, Casa Bonita.
It's a Mexican food place, and it's been taken over by vampires. And Kenny's little sister has been captured. So apparently it's quite short. So I'm a little miffed that it's a short DLC, but I'm still gonna hop into it and give it a go because I really enjoyed that. So I'm gonna be doing that, and then later after that we'll be doing some Sea of Thieves stuff.
Tomer's asking nothing about all the recent BGS news. Do we have anything on that? Are we not sure what BGS stands for? I was hoping one of you would know.
Which BGS is he talking about? Because there's about
BGS.
40 different BGSs that I can call off.
Well, Tomer,
yes, I don't know which one of them.
Let us know, Tomer. Let us know in chat which one what you're referring to there. But first of all, let's just go into this. So, Cyber, you were telling me earlier the internet has won the Battlefront 2 battle.
Yeah,
and you didn't elaborate.
This has been reported over the weekend. Basically, the Battlefront 2 EA has backed down from bringing back the loot box microtransactions. Instead, they're bringing back just straightforward, you buy what you want DLC, like microtransactions. So there's still microtransactions in it, but essentially now you're like, I'm going to buy this and I get this. I'm going to buy that and I get that. So it's still a little bit microtransaction-y, but they've done away with the random mechanics of it because and they know this because of the questions that have been asked recently. They weren't going to be able to get away with this if they had random loot. So they're gonna move away from random loot, and then they're gonna be able to say, see, we're not the issue, we're not the problem, we're not the issue, we're not the problem. So yeah.
All right. So we won.
Well, that's
won
great.
that one.
Victory of the gamers.
Might be a little late in people caring about it, but
well, it's probably a little late for Battlefront for anything positive to come of Battlefront 2, but any step in the right direction for EA right now is a good thing. So Tomer was asking about Bethesda Game Studios news.
Well, in here, I want to say something. Well, first, everybody's like, oh my god, Todd Howard hinted the new game from Bethesda. Well, hello, that's what they do for a living. Second, oh, he means that it's not something new on the Elder Scrolls. I can't believe that. Well, we've been talking for quite a while about the possibility of the new Vegas 2, and I can assure you that this is the case, even if it's not a new Vegas 2 or something related to it. Whatever that can be related to the Fallout universe, I'm going to make a party, because all of you who played what's the name, Wolfenstein 2, this game looked like it was some sort of tech demo of Fallout 5.
I'm sorry?
Anyone playing this game? Wolfenstein 2 felt like a tech demo of Fallout 5. Everything is like the same with better graphics. It was Fallout 4 with a shorter story, well, more cinematic, but you have
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Fallout 4. It was like a tech demo. The thing is that I can't remember where, in what convention it was that we had the joke that I was going to call him by his Twitter name, Deacon. Oh, shit! What's his name? I'm sorry, I'm a little thick today.
That's all right.
Especially,
I'm not sure whom you're talking about.
Deacon on Twitter. Oh, the Bethesda.
Pete Hines.
Thank you, Pete Hines. I can't remember in what convention did this happen, but there was this interview with Pete Hines where he looked clearly wasted, and he said that we were going to release the game soon. Then he looked like he said something that he shouldn't have said. On Twitter, he said that pay no mind to what I said. I was, a little wasted, which everybody noticed he was wasted. And now Todd Howard is saying the same, hints that the new Bethesda game may be coming soon. And I mean, well, in one hand, obviously that's what Bethesda does for a living, games.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a new game coming out soon, I would be really worried.
Mm-hmm. We covered this a couple weeks ago.
That was at PAX West, and
Yes.
we are hearing a lot of rumors about what Bethesda is going to bring, because they've made this big announcement that they're going to be at E3, that they're going to have their pre-showcase that they did last year. And last year they received a lot of flack because it wasn't a Bethesda studio, it was just all these other studios that released, those other games. And it wasn't actually a Bethesda studio game. So if they're not going to release a Bethesda Studios game this year, or if they're not even going to talk about one this year, then why are they coming when they don't have? They don't even have anything other than DLCs. So if they only come and showcase DLC for Prey and for maybe for Wolfenstein, and that's it, the studio is going to.
I have inside information, and I know what game they're going to release.
Which
one's
that?
Are you?
Yeah.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
Skyrim. Is it Skyrim for BlackBerry?
Skyrim for BlackBerry. Awesome. About time.
We actually covered this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. We speculate this is going to be the project codenamed Starfield that they're going to be announced, which we were expecting at E3 last year and got a big old nothing from them for. So if you want more on that, you can look back in our archive. A couple of weeks ago we talked about this. And also, I agree. I find the prospect of a Prey DLC very exciting because I love that game. But if that's all they have, then why would they do a major press conference?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so we won the Battlefront 2 battle. Already talked about that. But then there was some news on the Paragon front.
Paragon, not Pantheon. Paragon is canceled. Fortnite pretty much crushed it as far as them running basically the same type of like multiplayer, massive, community fan base for basically an arena PvP game. You only really want to have one of those out at a time as a big studio, and Epic said, well, Fortnite's taken the world over by storm, so we're canning Paragon, or they're canning Paragon because it's not moving anything. And this is old news, but what came out this past few days is that they're going to be releasing all of the assets for that game free if you're using the Unreal Engine. So this is really cool because there's a ton of assets in that game and a ton of characters in that game. So we're going to be seeing people make games for free. This is all for free. You don't have to buy any of this. You can, in a lot of cases, you might actually be able to go put it all together and basically come up with a Paragon clone of the game entirely if you put everything back together and release it. So this is really, really interesting. It's very interesting how they've done this, because this means that they're going to be focusing on building this as a new, major project in getting the game out into people's hands, but in a different way. So very, very fascinating. So very fascinating and this is like $12 million worth of assets that they've been working on for the past 5 years, and they're just dropping it all for free. It's going to drop over the course of a couple months. Not everything is going to drop at once or is available right now, but they're going to be dropping bit by bit until it's all out. So that's really, really cool.
Notional says the best part is that since no one played Paragon, all those assets will seem like non-released stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But that'll give all those modders who had their build Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 project canceled, now they have something they can work on.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
if any of them are real big fans of Paragon, they can go remake Paragon. Maybe fix whatever was wrong with it.
I see a lot of good stuff coming from this. Like, I was talking to some game devs this morning, and they're really excited to get their hands on it, because these are the guys who make games in their off hours, away from their main job or away from their main project work that they're working on for a studio or something like that, and they get to muddle around on their own, and they get to create something that they want to create. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see where this goes from here.
Absolutely. Right on. All right. Well, those are all of the headlines that we have for today. If there's anything else you'd like to talk about, drop that in the chat right now. If you have any questions, any other news items that you would like to talk about. As we mentioned earlier, there's apparently a bunch of Bethesda news that I think that it just got swallowed up by a lot of the CD Projekt Red and other stuff that we've been looking at. But yeah, absolutely. We're expecting something big from Bethesda at E3 this year, and I think they're going to want to up their game from what happened last year. And as I said, Starfield was we were anticipating seeing Starfield, and there's some evidence that it was originally going to be part of the press conference at the 2017 E3, and then that it got cut out last minute, which is why it was so short. So we're definitely anticipating seeing that, and we're very excited to see what that is. I want to see what Bethesda can do with a classical sort of sci-fi space adventure type game. That would be very exciting. I'm assuming that's what Starfield is. I mean, I have no idea really.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking about Starfield, and also what this studio, Strange New Things, the CDPR just bought out. I'm going to be talking about that later in my stream later today when I'm doing some stuff with South Park. So if you're interested, come by for that. We'll go over that. But yeah.
And Bartez BBNK is saying CD Projekt Red has already started inviting people to apply for a job at the new studio.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks they're hiding some other projects under Cyberpunk 2077 recruitment cover. I suppose that's possible.
Well, we already knew for a while that they are... Sorry for interrupting you. We already knew for a while that they were working in another AAA game apart from Cyberpunk 2077, but we have no idea what other game this is. And we knew that, for years, before they released The Witcher, they were working in a parallel game. But yeah, is it Cyberpunk related? Is it Witcher related? We really don't know. We have zero information about that.
Serpentine. I still don't know where a Mr. Stud and Midnight Lady go. I'm not gonna explain that one, but maybe you should get on making a video about that, Mad Queen.
I'll think about that, but maybe it's Mr. Ruver's job.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a job for Mr. Ruver.
I could just see him drawing diagrams with a Sharpie on the wall. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. This has been a fantastic podcast chat. There was a couple of points where I had to mute my microphone because I was just laughing so hard at the stuff that was going on in chat. I couldn't keep it in. You all make this such a fun job, and I feel it really livens up the podcast way more than when we were doing it pre-recorded, and I think that's showing in the numbers. So I want to thank you all for coming back week after week, and also those of you who are joining us for the first time. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting this show, and don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. And if you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, we thank you for your follows and likes. On iTunes, thank you for subscribing and for reviewing the show. And hey, feel free to join us next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific Time or 3 p.m. Eastern for the live show, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Asheninity, and on behalf of the Mad Queen and of Cyberpunk, thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.